Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people that want the best info, but just don't have the time. Get your podcast fix with the Cliff Notes versions of your favorite podcasts. No fluff, just the actionable golden nuggets. Having this much knowledge at your fingertips should be downright illegal. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with Satori Prime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Performance Enhancing Podcast with your host, Ilan Ferdman from Satori Prime. So this is going to be part 2 of the interview we did with Ramdas. If you missed part 1, again, make sure you check it out. His story, the thing that opened up this podcast, is amazing. I mean, he was one of the most brutal motorcycle accidents, and we spoke to him literally, I think, about 30 days after, so he's really in it. Absolutely amazing story. In this part, we're going to talk about his life project and what he's about, and something that I've actually spoken about in previous podcasts, which is his 5-minute journal he and Alex Icon had created. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, how it came to be, lessons they learned in putting it together, etc. Then we're also going to talk about goal setting. And UJ actually doesn't believe in setting goals farther than 6 months. So that might sound a little bit out of context right now, but stick around and you'll understand exactly why. And he also shares an amazing analogy about death and goal setting. So make sure you pay attention and listen to that. So without further ado, let's jump right into part 2 with Ramdas. Enjoy, everyone. So let's switch gears to this, to being grateful, because again, like I said in another podcast, you and Alex have come up with probably one of the coolest things. And here's a funny part. I was telling a friend of mine about it. And I was telling him about you and Alex and what you guys have done. And then this other person's like overhearing me, like, are you talking about this app? And like literally from a restaurant, it was like a table across, like, are you talking about this app? I was like, yeah. He's like, you know the guys that created it? Oh my God, I love this. It changed my life. And I'm like, awesome. That's amazing. So why don't you tell people a little bit about what it is in your own words, and then we'll kind of talk about the process.
Sure. So the 5-minute journal is a simple process that everybody can do that is an easy way to significantly improve your happiness in life. And it's a process that involves waking up with gratitude and closing the day with introspection. And the entire thing takes less than 5 minutes to do. And there are 5 very specific questions, very specifically worded to help you set your day up in the right way. And what we really wanted to do was to take the 80-20 on positive psychology. So what we know, almost everything we know about happiness in the last 20, 25 years of research, I'm a fan of systems that work.
Yeah.
And what drives me is a frustration with the inability to implement knowledge we already know.
I love
right. For example, when and this is still crazy. This still irks me. When someone goes into a hospital for like let's say they're having a heart issues or a heart attack, about 20 to 30% of the time they're misdiagnosed.
Wow.
In emergency, 20 to 30% of the time. Now that can be solved with a checklist. Done. That problem can be solved with a checklist in emergency. And the example comes from a book called Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. And about all of the complex problems that can be solved using a simple checklist. And the reason I mention that is because systems, when they're simple and elegant and thought out in their use, can dramatically improve life.
Yes.
Right? It can save lives in that example.
Yeah.
But in this case, what we did, we took the 80-20 on positive psychology, everything we know. As soon as we wake up in the morning, the state we wake up in affects the rest of the day.
Yes.
Right? You've heard the expression, getting on the wrong side of the bed, stepping your toe out of bed, blah, blah, blah. And so if you can really fix that, I think the first 2 or 3 minutes, set up the day for success. Whatever success is for you.
Yeah.
and end the last few minutes of the day with a sense of completion, a sense of gratitude, looking at the things that have worked in the day. You, in a certain way, train your mind, very similar to what we talked about earlier. Train your mind to begin to stay resilient, to look at what's working, to look at your own self as the creator of your own happiness. And so there's a physical version, there's an app version. You're welcome to use both. Frankly, I use the physical version in the morning and night, and use the app version for photos. Because photos are a great way to remember your days. If you want to remember your month, you just take a photo a day. Think of a time that you enjoyed. You know, if you're having dinner with friends, you take a picture of that and you remember that. It's a great photo. It's a great memory. And it's a great way of seeing beauty in the world. I'm a guy who doesn't take too many photos personally, right? And it reminds me to see beauty in the world and take it. For me, that's effective.
Interesting.
And so those are two ways of doing it. But as long as you follow the process and the questions, everybody can do it. We share the questions on the website for free.
Yeah.
So nobody really needs to buy it. It's beautiful. It looks great. It's easy to do. But by no means do we keep the information proprietary.
It's a secret.
We just want people to be happy, honestly.
Yeah. How did it start? How did you decide to launch this thing?
So I've been doing a version of this for about 6 or 7 years now. I came across it a long time ago in a video that was about mental conditioning.
Okay.
And the guy said basically this. He said, listen, at the end of the night, when you're winding down, it's when you're waking up and you're winding down, some of the best times to influence your mind. So Napoleon Hill talks about this. Pretty much most people who are in the mental conditioning space are going to touch on this.
Yeah.
And there's now good science to back it up. And so he said, every night, if you just do this conditioning, it's like dropping a pebble in a bucket. And before you know it, that bucket is going to be full of pebbles and be overflowing with water. That bucket full of pebbles represents the belief that you want to create in your life. And I thought, this is a cool concept. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try out how this works. And so I did that, and I had my own 5-minute journal, just that it was more like a 15, 20-minute journal. It was a little intense. I used to do it every night for years.
Wow.
And I was on a walk with a good friend of mine, Alex, and we were talking about our morning routines and night routines. And we typically start our mornings the same way: gratefulness, walking, exercise, meditation, those kind of things. And he said, "What's your night thing? You know, you've been mentioning about your night routine. You haven't really mentioned about it. You haven't talked to me about it." So I told him my process for it. And I said, "Hey, how about we simplify this and really make it available to everybody?" And the first thing I said was, "You're just lazy."
This does not need simplification.
I said, "No, you're just lazy. You just write it out by hand. It's not that big of a deal. You can do it." And he said, "You know what? But there's merit in simplifying it, and not everybody's going to do it as intensely as you're doing it." And I thought about it, and you were right. This is actually a pretty good idea. Let's do it. And that was that. We shook hands. And you know, he's incredible with design.
Yeah.
And I like writing. I like expressing, and that's my contribution. Yeah. And so that's how it started. And it's been great so far. And we're going to create more stuff in the future, and it's pretty fun.
Nice. So couple of things in that process. Did you guys have like any massive hiccups, like massive, failures in the process of launching it?
Well, what's your definition of failure?
Something that you just took a lesson from, that you were like, if I were to do this again, I would do it differently.
There are a lot of lessons.
There was a lot of those.
Well, there's a lot of lessons, right?
What's the biggest thing that you guys took? Because you made this really big, pretty fast. What's like a big takeaway?
Order lots of stock.
We're gonna boil it down to the simplest level. Okay.
I have at least 3 times the amount of inventory that you expect to go in a few months.
Interesting.
You have no idea how quickly you can get off the ground.
Wow.
And so don't base future projections on past sales.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, because especially with like online marketing and you know, your channels are now so varied. If something catches, it's an explosion. It happens overnight.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And so,
what was like the biggest moment of success for you guys in that?
You know what? So both of us are inspired by Tim Ferriss. There's a lot of things he's produced that have been awesome for us, and for just the fact that he uses it every day and has been promoting it pretty consistently for the past like year and a half.
Nice.
It's been awesome for us.
Nice.
It's been like, you know, when someone you respect and admire respects your work, it's great validation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great validation. You know, it's fine. He was actually talking about this moment where this moment of validation for him when Hugh Jackman, in the Wolverine, he's the Wolverine, the X-Men, looks at him and says, "Hey man, thanks so much for your book. I got into kettlebells because of you." And that was a great validation moment for him.
Nice.
And so it was very similar for us.
That's great.
Just to know that people we admire our work.
Are you guys launching an Android version?
There's talk of that. There's a couple of things we're going to have to do before that. We're working on a couple of other products as well. We're getting an iPhone app completely streamlined before we take the Android step.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely something that we've considered doing this year.
What else is coming down the pike from the two geniuses?
So, it's the second version of the journal. So if you have a journal, it's going to finish soon, and we want to give you a completely different one with a different look and feel, and just a different way of going about things. Maybe some different writings, and to keep it fresh, to keep it new, to keep it lively. There's an interesting idea that we've gotten lots of requests for the finding journal for kids.
Interesting.
And that's something. I'm really passionate about education, and I think really education is going to change the world.
That was my last podcast about how broken the educational system is. I don't know if
it's ridiculous.
No, it's horrendous. I mean, there's a great TED Talk that I just spoke about from Sir Ken Robinson. It's just abysmal. Interestingly, I shared it, right, and it's fascinating, because like people, I have a 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old, and almost 1.5-year-old, a boy and a girl, and I'm already in that mindset of well, that the system as is broken, but that doesn't mean that I can't take responsibility for educating them on the things that I think are really important. And what was fascinating to me, people were replying with like things that they were doing with their kids. So like a buddy of mine wrote, we teach spirituality and charity and entrepreneurship and all that stuff at home. And they took that on. Like his 4.5-year-old son created some like iPad holder, and he sold hundreds of copies throughout the world. He's 4.5 years old. I showed it to my wife. She's like, "That's impossible." I was like, "No, that's possible." Like, we just got to treat them as capable. So yeah, I'm totally. I think that idea would rock, because like just to have something that's a little more colorful, but like that a kid can interact with and that a parent can do with them before they go to bed or when they wake up would be a dream. It'd be amazing.
And also, I believe the reason why a lot of our mutual friends just homeschool their kids is the reason why their kids turn out to be incredibly bright, incredibly smart, very ahead of their times, really, ahead of their age, and they're doing really amazing things. And so I know your kids are kind of small, but if you haven't heard of board meetings,
Board meetings,
yeah. So there's a great concept called board meetings that was introduced by my friend Jim Shields. I think the website is boardmeetingsinternational.com. It's a very simple concept, and he started creating these retreats because he felt there was a need. He felt entrepreneurs weren't connecting with their kids as strongly as they could or they should. And there was a real gap there. And the concept is simple. It's quality focused time, one parent and one child doing a physical activity for a few hours, with no criticism, no blame, no instruction from the parent. And they, once the physical activity is done, they have a tea, or they have some food, and the parent asks the kid, "What did you learn today?" Spending that focused time where you're existing together as human beings, and you can share just really what's going on inside is an important concept. A lot of entrepreneurs don't focus on it because they're focused more on other things.
Yeah.
And so things like that, and usually what he does is he pulls his kid out of school for that day.
Get out of here.
Because he believes the time that he has with his children is more valuable.
Interesting. Well, I mean, completely 100% agree. It's fascinating. And I've started doing like mind work and personal development stuff, whatever people want to call it, about 11, 12 years ago. So understanding neuroscience and behavioral science and the way the brain works and all that stuff, and then seeing it arise in front of my eyes, like in a human, and knowing what we're capable of and actually watching it fulfill on itself. Like, when I first did personal development, I remember they were like, there's an event, that happens when you're really young, and it kind of determines a lot of the stuff that you are. And I'm just looking at these kids. I'm like, because I was 3.5, and I'm like, how did that even? I'm looking at my almost 3-year-old son. His level of competency and analytics. I mean, I'll share a crazy story with you. Like, this blew me away. I almost cried yesterday. He's in a class with a kid who's can't speak so well. He has like some sort of, it's not like a real disorder, but he just hasn't picked up speech. And Shia and him are really, really great friends. Like they really connected, almost like on a soul level. It's really strange. He calls him his best friend and all that stuff. Yeah. So the mom pulled my wife aside yesterday, and she goes, "I have to tell you, I love your son. Like, I know people say that everyone's child is amazing, blah, 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 but like, your son is really amazing." And she's like, "Well, thank you, but why?" She goes, "Why?" So when this kid is at school and he can't communicate, like, he'll want something, but the teachers don't understand him. Shia will actually tell the teachers what he wants.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, what a soul, to realize, to have that kind of empathy for someone, to realize he's not even 3. And I'm just looking at him and like, we're treating them like kids, but really, like most adults wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I just said it. I got you. Yeah. It's like she told me she was in tears. I'm in tears. I was like, I love him.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's just amazing what they're capable of. So yeah, it's gonna be a journey, I think, for me and along with many people who are, especially entrepreneurs, who we kind of realize the system is broken.
Yeah,
but we don't really know quite how we're gonna fix it. So now we got to figure out how to do it at home.
And you know what? I believe in the next 3 to 4 years, we're going to see a sea change in this, because you look at what's going on, and there's a surge, and you see this in your business. There's a surge of people doing their own thing,
yes,
and thinking differently, and not willing to put up with the status quo.
Yes,
and because there's it's hitting the zeitgeist. It's already hit the zeitgeist, to be honest, and that is going to translate into alternative instructions. Alternative ways of learning and teaching. Think about it. If there are about 20 people that think like you in your area, you can all pull together and pull together money, resources, and get your own system of education together.
100%.
It's not hard to create, and so it's all going to happen. It's going to be a very, very cool time.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say stuff like that. What occurs to me is, we have social media and like we're connected to all these people, and it's in infancy when you think about it. Like once we figure out how to harness this and really bring it back to, I think, more communal, like what you just said. Find 20 people in your area using that method, but then take it back offline and actually interact like real human beings. I think once we find that kind of synergy between the two, the world is really going to start moving at an incredible pace of what will be capable.
That's great.
So, okay, let me ask you something else here. I read something on your blog. A friend of yours asked you, and maybe now this is like even more present in your life, but a friend of yours has asked you, how do you create your plan? Like, do you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? And you said, and I quote, "I don't plan longer than 6 months."
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. My question is, and this is probably said before, there's definitely some context that I'm sure you want to add to that statement.
Yeah.
It's not like, I live my life, I see to my pants.
Sure.
But I thought it was a very interesting concept and a very interesting way to kind of like set goals in what you're looking to attain in life. So can you just say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So that requires context. So
yes, it definitely requires context. But I want you to not me put words in your mouth.
Yeah, sure. So, and I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah.
So there's really two time frames that you can somewhat control. There's always forces beyond your control, but just two forces that you can somewhat control. And one is the vision. The long term, like what is your life about?
Yeah.
Right? Like why are you here? Like what does it matter whether you're alive tomorrow or not? What do you do that matters to you? And if you died 20 years from now instead of tomorrow, why will that be more meaningful? So that vision, and that vision is really like a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year vision. It's way out.
Yeah.
And
would you say for certain people that have, read like Simon Sinek or something like that, when you say vision, is that kind of like the why that we were talking about, your mission basically in life as a human being?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. It's the best way I know how to describe it. I know it's been described many ways. For me, it's, the moment that you're dying, let's say you're conscious of it.
Wow.
Let's say you're conscious of it. And there have been many people who have been conscious of it. That feeling you get, if you were to be completely fulfilled, if you were to go willingly, what kind of an impact would you have had on the people in your life, people you've met, people you haven't met? What would make it worth it for you to go willingly? Yeah. That is the question that needs to be answered.
Wow.
And Leonardo da Vinci's got a great quote. He said, just like at the end of the day of a work, when you've finished the day, I'm pushing this quote. But hopefully you get the concept.
Yeah, we'll get the gist.
At the end of the day of the day when you've done great work, you sleep so well. You sleep fulfilled. You sleep a deep, relaxed, incredible sleep. That's the same feeling you get magnified at the end of a life well lived.
Wow.
Right? And Da Vinci would know. Lived a great life. And he's one of those geniuses that got into so many things and did so many things incredibly well. He's a huge inspiration. But that's the vision. That's the vision of what all of this means. That's the vision of is what I'm doing the next half hour from now, is it worth it? Is it meaningful? Right? 6 months really is the only time frame that you can reasonably control for me. Otherwise, there are too many variables that confound what you're able to do.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it's important. I like control.
Which is why I like to wield fast bikes around the
streets. Right? And I like to, when I don't have control of something, and I'm completely comfortable letting go of it. But if I'm going to be delusional and saying I'm going to plan a year from now, and I'm going to change plan 6 months from now, that's just going to be lost energy effort. Whereas with some reasonable certainty, I can tell you in the next 6 months, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on.
Interesting. What I love about that is I totally believe that people create unrealistic goals for a year. Most people's goals for a year out are very unrealistic. Right. Like, I start working with someone, they're like, I want to make $10,000 a month. And I'm like, great. How much are you making now? 0. I'm like, okay, great. How much do you have to invest? They're like $100 a month. I'm like, that is fucking impossible. When you figure that out, let me know. I would love to. So I think most people's goals like that are unrealistic. I think people's 5-year goals tend to be actually under what they will accomplish. Yeah. What I like what you're saying here is, I can have my vision of my life and like what I'm committed to and what I'm working for. But what I can focus on is right now and for this amount of time. And that gives it clarity and like, these are the tasks. This is what I need to do versus like, oh, I'm striving for 10K. Because for most people, it's like such a weird, unrealistic thing. They're just like half-ass playing it instead of being like, here are my tasks for 6 months. Yeah. I really, really like that. The death analogy is amazing. Really smart.
Well, it brings it home, right? It brings it home.
Totally.
It makes it real. And I spoke to a friend recently, and he had an experience with, his fiance's family member, committing, just taking her life, basically.
Wow.
It's a serious experience where you come face to face with mortality. It happens to all of us from time to time, and it's a great lesson to remember we're not here forever.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a good thing. Time constraints are great because they help you know that your time is valuable, and so you got to make it count. For the next 6 months, if you really have your tasks, your ideas, like what you need to implement all hashed out, you can just go ahead and do that. And every time you go ahead and accomplish that, you build self-esteem. You build the sense that, this is moving, this is working, and getting momentum.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the point you made about the 5-year plan is totally true. They totally undershoot their targets, what they can do in 5 years. And if people can just hold on to that, you know this through the psychology researchers, self-control is a better predictor of performance, of wealth, of the ability to maintain long-term relationships than almost any other factor.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. So I think this is an excellent place to pause here because the topic that we had just covered about 6-month goals being, people yearly goals, I should say, being over ambitious while their 5-year goals are under ambitious. I want you to just pause here for a minute, whether you're driving your car, listening on your computer, and just kind of evaluate your goals and start asking yourself questions like, is this pushing me? Or is this realistic? What am I missing? What can I put in place? Things of that nature, and start checking in. Are the goals motivating you? Because I said this on a mastermind recently, people that are making $0 and all of a sudden want to make $50,000 or $10,000, to them that goal is so far-fetched that the brain just hears it as noise. It literally hears it as, there's no shot I'm ever going to do that, so why really bother? what I love that UJ did was, yes, he has these big goals of what he's committed to, et cetera, but the 6-month thing really breaks it down into minute little incremental steps that you can follow. And then your brain is not focused on this big ass number or achievement. It's just focused on the daily tasks. And that's the way the brain likes to process things. So again, just take a few minutes here. And as we wrap up part 2, look at your goals. What could be your goals for the next 6 months? And do you need to up your goals for the next 5 years? As Guy always used to say, the next 5 years are coming whether you do anything about them or not. So you may as well plant a bunch of really, really good seeds to have that 5-year out plan be really, really successful. And I'll tell you, the one thing I've seen across the board of masters and people that are successful, they simply take the right action consistently for a prolonged period of time. That is how you reach success. All the other stuff with the shortcuts and the get lucky and blah, blah, blah. You know what? People get lucky when they work super hard. So with that, I just want to leave you there and have you kind of be in that inquiry. And we'll finish up in part 3 in the next section. So hope you enjoyed this podcast. Again, please head over to iTunes, leave us a rating, comment, and a review. And until the next pep talk, have an amazing, amazing day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to satoriprime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.